I think the MCU is about to become the Deadpool multiverse. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get right into this story. I have some juicy speculation about what I think this means, but let's start with the official report. I saw this pop up on the Direct, and it comes from insider Daniel Richtman. Now, here's the thing, guys. Daniel Richtman is a very reliable insider when it comes to these sort of things. So right off the bat, it coming from Daniel Richtman gets a thumbs up for me. Now, let's read right from the article here, and the big news is this. Daniel Richtman revealed via Patreon that Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige is interested in wanting to sign Deadpool star Ryan Reynolds to the biggest deal in MCU history. Now, the Direct goes on to speculate that the biggest deal in MCU history likely means the most appearances. Now, I think that's true, but I also think Ryan Reynolds is about to get a serious bag. And again, I want to take you through what I think is actually going on here, because I've heard some weird things from behind the scenes with Marvel shuffling things around, and we already know some things about Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and, you know, late last year when that hype was up there. But first, let's talk about what Rob Liefeld said after this rumor came out. Rob Liefeld, of course, creator of Deadpool in the comics, and he's also been super vocal about Marvel and Kevin Feige's treatment of the Deadpool character, and we'll talk about that as well. But here's what he tweeted after this rumor broke. He says, "Look, all this means is that Feige finally came to his senses and caved, as he should have long ago. Hoping this is true. Ryan as Deadpool is a sure thing in an entertainment canvas that is increasingly fragile." Liefeld followed that tweet up by tweeting again, saying Ryan's value as Deadpool has never ever been greater. A deal to secure him should have been made after all the Sony/Holland drama. Okay, really interesting stuff there. Now, what he is implying, and who knows how much actual insider knowledge Liefeld has of the situation, I'll leave that for you to decide or come up with in your head. But what he is implying is that Feige was pretty much like, no, 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 and was holding back, and then finally came to his senses and caved to sign this massive contract with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Now, let's talk for a second about what was going on with Ryan Reynolds and the Deadpool team with Marvel Studios insofar as we know. Late last year, there was a lot of buzz. Ryan Reynolds posted an image over the holidays of him at Marvel Studios, talking about how he had a meeting with Kevin Feige. The writers were interviewing for a different thing, and they were talking about Deadpool 3, the desire for the team to want to work within the MCU sandbox. Ryan Reynolds famously said, whatever we do, it's going to have to be a super solid pitch and incredible, and if that happens, I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out. Then again, on a talk show over the holidays, Ryan Reynolds was interviewed and said something to the effect of, yes, Deadpool 3 is happening and we're over at Marvel Studios now, so it's the big leagues. So essentially, there was a lot of evidence to suggest that Reynolds was pitching Kevin Feige pretty hard last year for a Deadpool 3, and then Liefeld's comments in the interim had suggested that Kevin Feige was just not interested in that. And Liefeld even came out and said, like, hey, you know when we're going to see Deadpool? 5 or 6 years from now, because they've already got this plan, etc., etc. Now I need to talk about the speculation, and look, as I always like to say with the disclaimers, I'm just some dude on the internet. I have zero sources. I have below average IQ. I barely know what is going on. Why are you watching me anyways? So don't believe anything I'm about to say. But here's what I heard. I heard late last year, around the time of the Sony deal breaking apart, that Marvel was shifting a lot of things in their future schedule. I've also heard that that announcement of Phase 4 and what Feige chose to announce was not all of the things that they had in production, and they decided to keep that as Phase 4. They decided to hold some content back as things were changing in the future, I believe, because of the Holland-Sony drama, which Rob Liefeld brings up in the most recent tweet. I've also heard that this year, even in 2020, and this has very little to do with the pandy, it actually has to do with contracts and just plans for the future of the MCU, but I've heard that this year there were 2 massive shuffling around of future projects and of trying to figure out the actual plan forward for Marvel Studios, okay? So they've been changing a lot of different things. Now, what I think was happening was negotiations on the one hand with Sony. They were really trying to figure out that Spider-Man stuff. And as we've been talking about here on the channel, folks, it seems like they have it figured out. There's a lot of teases here. Olivia Wilde talking about Spider-Woman being connected to Kevin Feige bringing in Electro for the next Spider-Man movie, which he will produce, that Spider-Man movie, getting a Marvel date, etc., etc. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that Sony and Marvel have their stuff figured out. And so if you're Kevin Feige and you figured that out and you have your plan, you probably then go back to Ryan Reynolds and you then realize, you know, yeah, he is very valuable. We can plug him in this sense. And so my view of the situation isn't as negative as Rob Liefeld's. Who knows exactly what he knows? Maybe there's reason for him to be the way that he is. But in my view, Feige probably just rejected the pitch that Reynolds and the Deadpool team came up with. And it probably has very little to do with the quality of the pitch. It just doesn't fit into Feige's vision. It's much like Noah Hawley pitching the Doctor Doom movie. I have no doubt that movie would have been incredible. I also have no doubt it is not fitting into Feige's plan, and therefore it's gone. It just gets discarded. And I think Feige has a plan for Deadpool that, you know, I'm just going to say it, is probably way better than whatever Reynolds and that team had been working on. My fear with the Deadpool movies was that they were going to get to this point where they were just kind of parody, you know, shit posting money machine movies that really weren't that great. That's the direction I saw that franchise going under Fox. I think what Feige will do with Deadpool is integrate him into the multiverse. And there's so much evidence for how crazy this multiverse is about to get, right? We've been talking about it. Tom Cruise, Iron Man, John Krasinski, Hydra Crab. This thing's like that could actually happen, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? So it's getting crazy. Feige probably has a plan to integrate Deadpool and not only integrate him, but make the solo Deadpool movies amazing in their own right, but also have a heavy influence on what happens in the larger MCU, which will then elevate the value of that Deadpool movie, which is the magic of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so I expect now to be getting some really cool Deadpool stuff integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and into the multiverse as we head towards Secret Wars, which is undeniably where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is headed. And we've been saying it here for a long, long time. And so that is the news when it comes to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. Oh, and one last thing. I do think that Ryan's about to get a bag and that this biggest contract is not just for appearances, but money. Because there's rumors of him coming back to play Green Lantern in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And on top of that, he could potentially play Green Lantern even more. Because what they're doing with the multiverse over at DC is crazy. And now Ryan has leverage that he didn't have before. So it's interesting. I don't know how that's going to work, but I expect Ryan Reynolds to be paid a pretty penny for this massive MCU deal. I think it's just a general win for fans. I don't think anything is finalized or signed yet, but that is the news and my speculation. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And now a shout out Andreas Miranda. Yes, indeed, it was Jake Gyllenhaal that almost took over for Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, in the Merc with the Mouth storyline, what job did the beautiful version of Wade Wilson have in that universe? If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you doing? Subscribe so you don't miss the videos. And if you're enjoying the content over here, you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerdvengers Tower, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.